public hearing. So to prevent yelling the entire meeting, I am waiting to see if they're going to be able to get our mics working. Um, I know it's already a challenge to hear me, and so the reason we are paused right now is because the mics aren't working. You hear me through this? Yeah, I can't hear myself up here. It's not, I guess you call it projection. Projecting, yeah, thank you. Hello? I mean, I just can't hear myself. It's totally changed, but if you all can hear, that's fine. Okay, there it is. It's back. So in the motion to adopt the agenda, again, item number 2 should include that item number 2 be placed on the October 14th work session and the October 21st council agenda for public hearing. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Well, actually, I didn't say approve the agenda. So a motion to adopt the council agenda, moving item number 2 to the October 14th work session and to the October 21st council meeting for public hearing. But I was just stating it, so I need is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Approval of city council minutes from the August 5th, 2024 meeting of East Point City Council. Been a motion to approve the council minutes from the August 5th meeting of East Point City Council. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Do we have any public comments this evening?
We have 2 public comments this evening.
Chapter 2, Section 2-2002 BB, Rule 28. The public may speak during the public comment section of the agenda. Speakers must complete a comment form prior to the start of the meeting. Subject may include any subject of choice. There will be a 3-minute time limit for each speaker. Speakers that have signed up to speak may give all or part of their time, up to 3 minutes, to another speaker for a total of 6 minutes of speaking time. Speakers may address the council only once during this time of the agenda. Speakers must identify themselves and their address prior to speaking. Questions from the speakers may not be addressed during the public speaking section of the agenda. East Point residents will have priority over other speakers. There will be a total of not more than 60 minutes for the public speaking section of the agenda. Speakers may only address the presiding officer. Speakers shall observe all rules of decorum. No debate, disrespect, or obscenity shall be tolerated. The presiding officer shall rule any such individual out of order that fails to comply with the foregoing. Madam City Clerk, you can call the first speaker.
Up first, we have Mr. Rick Pierce. No. All right.
Rick Pierce.
Mhm.
I think they may have just left. Who's the
I
second?
think so too. Ryan Kelly.
Ryan Kelly. All right. Any other
Yep,
speakers?
that's it.
All righty. Next up is the consent agenda items. Items number 3 through 25. Is there a motion to approve the
Madam
consent
Mayor?
agenda? Yes.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda, items 3 through number 25.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the council discussion on property tax millage rate. Can we get a motion to open the floor for discussion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Brown, the floor is open for a discussion of the property tax millage rate. We had a presentation at our last, is it work session? Our meeting last month. We authorized staff to go ahead and publish the notice at 13 mills, but that council will be having further discussion or presentation from staff to decide ultimately whether or not we want it to be at the 13 mills or lower to 12.75 or 12. And so I'm talking to myself. He's not here. So that's what we're here for tonight, gentlemen. Mr. Brown isn't here, but I'm not sure if he talked to you all about opening the presentation.
Yes,
Okay,
we have
go ahead.
we have the presentation available.
Go ahead.
Want to go ahead? Let's go ahead and just- Yeah, he should come. All right, go ahead, Jeff.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Today I bring to you three slides. Each one will show the millage rate at 13, 12.75, and 12. This is the first, which is showing the millage rate at 13. It shows that we have a real and personal of $2,295,748,371. Then we add motor vehicle of $4,052,630, and then mobile homes of 76,119, which gives us a total gross of $2,299,877,120. We have total exemptions totaling $132,690,908, which gives us a net of $2,167,186,212. If we use the millage rate at 13, that's going to be the net taxes levied at $28,173,421, which would give us an increase over last year of $2,409,970, which is an increase of 9.75. That's at the 13 mills. If we go to the 12.75 mills, we're going to have all of the information the same, but we're going to use 12.75 as opposed to 13. That's going to give us a net taxes levy of $27,631,624, which is an increase of $1,868,173, an increase of 7.25%. Using the 12 millage rate, which is the rollback millage rate, That would give us a net taxes levy of $26,006,235, which is an increase of $242,783, which is an increase of 0.94%. These are the fair market values that we calculated using homes at 200,000, 300,000, and 400,000. At 200,000, we'll use a 40% for the assessed value. That's going to give everyone with a home at least of 200,000 an assessed value of $80,000. At the millage rate of 12, the taxes will be $960. At 12.75, $1,020, and at 13, $1,040. With the fair market value, all homes up 300,000 would have an assessed value of 120,000. The millage rate at 12 would make property taxes $1,440. At 12.75, $1,530, and at 13, $1,560. Homes with a fair market value of at least 400,000 would have an assessed value of 160,000. The millage rate at 12 would be the approximate property taxes would be $1,920. At 12.75, $2,040, and at 13, $2,080. That's the end of my presentation.
Councilmember Butler.
Yes, thank you so much. Could you go back to where we have the rate at 13? And then we did, I think the increase was, is that $2,409,000?
Yes, sir.
And for 12.75 is 1,868,000?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And for the final one for 12, it was only $242,000?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That's all I need.
So the first public hearing is September 3rd.
Yes, ma'am.
Second is September 9th.
Third, second.
Oh, the
16th.
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 And then October 7th.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so, again, Attorney Wiggins indicated as long as we publish it at the highest possible millage rate, which is 13, the highest number, that's the current millage rate, but from an advertising perspective. And if we decide to go with the other ones because they're lower, we'll be okay. Has the notice been published for September
It will
3rd?
be published on Wednesday.
Yeah, speaking to the mic for me.
It will be published on Wednesday.
It'll come out in the paper on Wednesday?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I don't see any lights on from council members. Councilmember Ziegler.
Hi, yes, and can you remind me how these different amounts of revenue, how that compares to the budget that we approved?
Sure. So when we created the budget, we projected the budget with 13 mills, and that was projected at $27.2 million, right? If we were to go lower than the 13 mills, like Ms. Hammond indicated in the previous meeting, then we'll probably have to cut some of our expenses.
Okay, but I thought that that we didn't get the property assessments until recently, and so so with the 13 mills, were you able to estimate how much Fulton County would estimate our property values accurately then?
No, we wouldn't know what the property values will be until we get the digest, right?
Right, and we just got that, right, in July? Okay, so we're certain that it has to be 13 mills, or we have to cut stuff in the budget? Because what I'm hearing is, because there's two pieces to property taxes, right? There's the millage rate, and then there's the property values.
Correct.
So, you know, we base the budget off of the 13 mills and the 13 mills that you based it off of, was that based off of the previous year's property values?
The increases,
Right. Okay. So how much did you project that they would increase?
about 5%.
5%. Okay. And then how much is that in alignment with what Fulton County did?
Well, they had it at 9%, right? Yeah. It was a 9% increase over last year.
Okay. So there's a 4% difference, right?
Right.
So is that where the 2 million over comes into
Well-
play?
Well, you got to also consider that expenses have increased over last year, correct? Like some of the expenses that we budgeted for in the general fund and all other funds and departments, they increase, as well as there are certain initiatives such as the pay study that's on the second phase, I believe, that we don't know what that expense is going to look like. So to keep it at 13 mills would be the safe bet.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So, we don't have to make a decision tonight. There will be 3 public hearings. There'll be discussion after each of the public hearings. And so, given the advice of our attorney, that as long as we advertise it at the highest rate, we will be able to make whatever decision we deem necessary as it relates to it. So next meeting, September 3rd, it'll show up as a public hearing. That'll be the first one, then the 16th, and then October the 7th. Councilmember,
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have a few questions for Mr. Jackson.
Yes, sir.
So you've been here, we've seen each other maybe 7 times. We've had this conversation, 7 years.
Yeah, I'm on my 8th year.
So up until recently, we reduced the millage rate every year, up until recently.
Up until, well, yes, we reduced it from 15 to 13 to 14.25 to 13.45 and now to 13.
And so for last year, we didn't increase it because we did not decrease it because we thought that it was prudent to keep it at 13. Is that fair to say?
That is correct.
And so based upon your budgeting now and the fact that we have reduced the millage rate every year, we've gotten to a point where we may be at the ceiling of what we can safely reduce our millage rate without cutting services. Would that be correct?
Yes, sir. Plus the fact that you have to take in consideration that no one collects at 100%. So we collect at around 93 to 94%.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Ziegler.
Can you pull up one of your slides on whichever millage rate you'd like to pull up? Okay, so it looks like, let's see here, the net tax is levied. So in the fiscal year 24 to 25, it's 28 million. And just 4 years ago or 5 years ago, it was 16 million. So that's, increase of that's a pretty decent increase. Would you agree? Is that, okay. So our taxes have gone up, even if we have, kept the millage rate the same or decreased it, like the amount of money that East Point is actually collecting is more, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And go ahead.
Go right ahead. Go ahead.
So I'm just saying that, the amount that people are paying have increased more and more. And I have heard by a lot of people that that their taxes have increased, doubled or tripled. I know that for me, my taxes, I'm a property owner. I paid property taxes. I know. In the past 7 years, my taxes have tripled. And that's just the city side. That's not including Fulton County. So, let's just be mindful that there's a lot of pressure, on people, that it is a lot of taxes to pay. In addition to, there's inflation, right? It's hard to go to the grocery store right now and buy, a family's worth of food under $200 or so, whereas before you would be able to do that. So, as far as saying that the expenses have increased and things like that, well, sure, but I mean, we are collecting a lot more than we have ever in the past 5 years.
Member Shropshire?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. My question is, we have decreased. It hasn't been to what was suggested, which would be the rollback, which would really decrease the taxes. But your property tax is high based on, and I hope I'm saying it right, the assessment that Fulton County puts on your property, which increases your property value.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's why your property taxes are high. It has pretty much, we've lowered the millage rate, not to the point of where you actually roll it back and you can say you've decreased it. But it is to the point where it has been lowered. So people need to understand, when you talk about your property tax is high, it's not because of the millage rate, it's because of the assessment that Fulton County has placed on your property, which increased your property value.
Yes, ma'am.
Because at one point, your property value was, people were upside down in their mortgage, which made their property taxes lower. But now that things are rising, your property value has gone up. So see, those are those nice little $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 homes that's being built in the communities, in the neighborhood, that's increasing your property value.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
So I have a question. What is the number that we included in the budget? I don't remember all numbers from the budget. I reviewed it, but what is the actual number for property tax revenue that we included in the FY 24-25 budget?
It was 27.2.
You got to talk into the mic.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor. It was $27.2 million.
$27,200,000.
Yes, ma'am.
And so this is over, I can't do math that quick. 28,173. Shoot. So this is a difference, or in $973,421 over what was budgeted. What you said, the collection rate is usually what, 90, 95%? I can't remember.
93 to 94.
93 to 94%. So we'll be conservative and take 93% of 28. So that's $26,201,281.50. And if we subtract that from 27 to 26201, 281.5. That would be a shortfall of $998,718.50, which would be the possible amount of services that we'd have to reduce in order to balance the budget. I think what we've been seeing is the effect of property tax values increase across the county. When we did our local option sales tax negotiation, they were being conservative with the projection of the amount of increase or inflation per year. And I think the conservative number was between like 3 to 5%. to kind of project what we get around that. So each year the digest goes up, and it's not the property tax driving it up. It is the value of homes in the county based upon the property tax assessor, which makes the digest number increase. Um, Fulton County Fulton County Schools gets the majority of property taxes, followed by Fulton County, then the city. I haven't looked at my property tax bill to see if mine is tripled within the last 3 years, but I know I would have found it to be a quite substantial dent in my budget, to triple the property taxes. And so, but of course, we kind of are in the new construction, or like the build and being built like at the market at the time versus people who've owned their homes for a substantial period of time, and those increases do cause pain, especially when they're not making any improvements or anything to the homes. The values are just going up, and so I think there are definitely things that we need to consider. But if we're going to go lower than the 13, then we're looking at around $1 million of adjustment in the budget. There's, I'm sure, probably areas where adjustments could be made. So I'm not suggesting that without cutting services. I mean, I'm sure looking at contingencies and different items that are within the budget, if that was a desire, that could potentially be explored. But, you know, my question is, what are we planning to do with it? And this was the same question I had last year. The $25,763,451 is a $2,409,970 less than the 28 million. So that's an increase of around $2.4 million. What is that going to be used for? I think, you know, when we have these discussions, we talk about what's budgeted, but there's an increase, right? This is even almost $1 million more than what was budgeted. Granted, it's not 100% collection rate, but I think people need to know, like, what are we planning to use the increase in revenue for? Like, what are we planning that for? So I think you budget for 100% and assume that we get here. What is that $2,409,970 going to be for, if in fact we get to 100%? And I think those are conversations that can help inform the community as well as council around the decisions that we have to make. I'm not necessarily asking you all to have that tonight, but I'm sure by the time we go through 3 public hearings, it'll probably come up at the first, second, and third. And so if we're making some level of progress in explaining, you know, what these funds will be used for, and that's more for city manager leading the operations side, like, what are we planning? We know that we could potentially get $2.4 million more. What is going to happen with that? Or at least $1 million more than what we budgeted. What will that be used for? What are we planning? What are we anticipating? Because there is projections that property tax values are going to continue to go up. We're going to continue to collect more than we budget. We went through probably about 10, 15 years when we're doing the local option sales tax negotiation. There's a projection, even if it's at 3%, a conservative number is a substantial increase in property tax digest. So I think those are the things I would like to have information about as we move forward in the public hearings. All right, I don't see any other lights on, so we will move next to item number 27. Council discussion and possible action on updating the Soccer in the Streets mural for FIFA in the amount of $35,000. Is the motion to open the floor for discussion and possible action? Been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. The floor is now open, Mr. Brown.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Mr. Swain has done an excellent job in increasing our, I guess, our share in the public regarding public art. Parks and Recreation, we're working diligently to create opportunities in the area of soccer. We have discussions now with MLS for our kids to participate in soccer events leading up to 2026 FIBA. I'm going to bring Mr. Swain up to discuss the art mural that he's looking at installing here in the city.
Good evening, elected body. I am Christopher Swain, Public Arts Coordinator for the City of East Point. And tonight I want to talk about the Soccer in the Streets mural currently in the City of East Point. On Saturday, October 5th, 2019, we welcomed the Soccer in the Streets program to the City of East Point. The City of East Point Soccer in the Streets program is very unique. It's unique in that it's the only property that's not connected to a MARTA property. And it also has a huge wall that features a mural. That is the second largest open air mural in the City of East Point, second only to the one on the side of Aya Tower of former Mayor Patsy Jo Hilliard. As you know, right now, the U.S. Soccer Federation is building their training facility at Trilith in Fayetteville. So that being said, when FIFA 2026 gets here, with them being in Fayetteville and most of the action taking place in the city of Atlanta, coming north from Fayetteville, East Point is the first stop for soccer because of that Soccer in the Streets Park. It is imperative that we get this mural up, get it updated so that we're poised for world-class exposure, because we're talking about having an international eye on the City of East Point. So they're talking about even during the games, they're going to be doing drone shots, this sort of thing. So they'll be able to have beautiful shots of this mural here in East Point. Additionally, the children who play in the Soccer in the Streets program here in East Point will have the opportunity to go to Trilith and play at the field there, as well as having the players there come and play on our field here in East Point, which gives us another focal point for the city. I'm not sure if you know about this, but the former owner of one of the former owners of Oz Pizza, his son recently played in the Olympics, and he's since been signed to Chelsea. He will be in town as well during that time. So we're going to be on the map during this process. So what we did is last year, when it was budget time, went to the table and asked for some money because I had been in meetings with Soccer in the Streets, as well as Joel Baskin, who owns the building on which the mural is affixed, to come together and come up with a plan that we can move forward and get East Point poised for success. So now we're ready, and what we're doing is we want to put money into this process. And what's happening also is that Soccer in the Streets, so you know, Soccer in the Streets is actually facilitating this process. They're in charge of like the artists and all of that. That's not what I'm doing. It's not what Joel Baskin is doing, but we both have skin in the game. So we do have opportunity to have conversation on the final design. So we have talked about it. I know who the artist is. I've seen his work. It's fantastic. So we have a great mural to look forward to. So tonight, that's what the ask is, to allow us to spend the money on this mural. Thank you.
All right, any questions or motions? Councilmember Martin Rogers.
Thank you so much for your presentation. My question is, for the mural, will it cover the entire side of the building?
Yes, it will. It will cover the entire side of the building. Now, when they did the mural initially, unfortunately, my division was not involved in that process. So some things kind of went under the radar and it was just done and we dealt with it. But now we're ready to move forward. And also, I don't know if you noticed, but what's happening now is if you go by there daily, we're losing parts of that mural. It's fading, it's chipping down. It kind of really looks bad, actually. And because I mentioned earlier about it being like the second largest open air mural in the city. The thing about that is the open air murals like that, the ones that open like that, they are your focal points of your city. Those are things that people see all the time, particularly that one because it's in the northbound. It's on Main Street, which runs northbound, so you can't pass by it and not see it. But yeah, so the whole wall will be done. The problem the first time, the reason the mural is actually falling apart is because the wall was not properly prepped initially. The first artist came in and just started painting. This time we have a plan in place to fix the wall and prep the wall properly, then adhere the mural to it.
All right, and then my second question is there anything that can be done over by the Georgia Soccer Park as far as decorating? I know that we're getting $35,000 for the mural, but we do have the only soccer park in the South Fulton area here in East Point.
We're definitely open to having conversation with the people over there. I mean, whatever, I mean, we,
Yeah, just to acknowledge that FIFA is coming, that
Sure.
that soccer park is in East Point, Georgia.
the roads are open. I mean, we're open to talking to anybody, but anytime it comes to anything in the arts in the city, we're always open to it.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Shropshire.
Thank you. I have a question. You said you already have someone to do the design for the,
Soccer in the Streets chose an artist. Yes, they did.
oh, Soccer in the Street. chose
Yes.
them. Are they a resident here?
No.
Okay, I'll wait.
Thank you. My question is for Charlotte. How soon are we to having something for the rec center? And are we going to be able to have the rec center as a support for that soccer park for FIFA?
I guess we,
That's a Mr. Brown question.
yeah.
We can discuss some of it in items number 36, 37, 38 on this agenda. If you want to wait, we can wait. Talk then.
Because it's a financing issue? Okay. No, that's all.
Thank you. So my question is, Soccer in the Parks selected the person to do the artwork, correct? So then what are we paying the $35,000 for?
I'm sorry, could you speak up? I couldn't hear you.
If Soccer in the Park selected the person to do the artwork, what are we paying the $35,000 for?
The mural itself, the mural work that's being done here in the city.
So we're gonna have an artist do the mural work.
Yes.
So do the artists live in East Point?
No, the artist does not
Because
live
we
in East
do
Point.
have a lot of artists that lives in East Point.
With all due respect, Councilwoman Shropshire, I do not work for Soccer in the Streets. I don't represent
So
that
that's-
company,
so-
and they're the ones who actually
So
select the
Mr. Swain,
artists.
Mr. Swain, you coming off with a very bad attitude.
No, that's the answer. It's
No,
not an attitude.
no, your position.
Going back and forth and
Your-
one
your-
at a time.
your-
Go
your
ahead, Councilmember
position.
Shropshire.
I'm just simply asking a question.
I understand.
So is Soccer in the Streets paying for the work?
The work has been paid for by the city and Joel Baskin. He's the building owner.
Okay.
Mhm.
So,
And actually, they actually selected the artist for the initial mural that was there also. That wasn't something that we did then either.
so we're just paying for the mural.
Correct.
They're paying
And
for the design.
yes, that's what we're doing. It's a collaboration. This is a partnership.
Thank you.
So the three entities are contributing at different levels. I don't know how much Attorney Baskin is contributing as well as Soccer in the Streets, but they're all contributing to the pool of money to engage the artist, to treat the wall,
Correct.
and then to have the mural done. If I had to guess, there might be some thematic connection to the other, like what's going to be happening for FIFA and the plans that they had to activate the different soccer fields at the MARTA stations to really attract people from an engaging perspective. So that might be why they're kind of like leading the design, because I think they envision this, and them specifically talking about FIFA. I think they're envisioning really using it and designing in a way that fits into Soccer in the Street, which is a part of this whole soccer collaborative that's working with the city of Atlanta to get activities and events happening around FIFA. So that's probably why. And the person that they engaged, I don't know if they're doing other stuff, but I think that's like the full plan. And I don't know, do you have the amount that Attorney Baskin and that Soccer in the Streets is
I
contributing?
don't. I don't, but I do know that all three of us involved in, and during the conversation, if there's any additional funding needed after what we all have put in, Oz Piece is also in on it also.
Okay. Any other questions or motion?
I have a motion.
Councilmember Martin Rogers? Oh, I'm sorry. Somebody, did you say something?
I said I had the motion.
Oh, okay. I was looking at my thing and the lights. Council, I'll go to you for the second. Councilmember, what is happening? Something's asking me to approve. Martin Rogers?
Yes, motion to approve.
Item 27. Oh,
Yeah.
did you have a question?
It wasn't a question. No, I was going to make a
Okay.
motion.
Everybody's waiting on the motion.
All right, motion to approve the updating the Soccer in the Streets mural for FIFA, Federation Internationale de Football Association, in the amount of $35,000.
Second.
It's been properly seconded and my screen has gone out some kind of way. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
That's not 5. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Something just happened to my screen. I can't see who's in. No, it's not. Mr. Brown, IT. Can I get a motion to open the floor for discussion and possible action to purchase 2 2024 Super Duty crew trucks under Georgia State contract from the
So
Water and
moved.
Sewer Department?
Madam Mayor, make the motion that we open the floor for discussion and possible action on the purchase of trucks.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. The floor is now open. Mr. Brown?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. So every year, by December of every year, we propose a capital improvement budget that actually governs my expenditures that we can plan out for every year. So this is a capital improvement budget so that we can group the water line crew and the sewer line crew in one crew truck, one per each division.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And if it pleases the mayor too, can we talk about the number 31 too at this time?
We have to do them separate because we have to take separate action. So it'll be easier if that's it on that one to do the motion and then we go to the next one so we can keep moving it. But Ms. Echeverria can stay.
I'd like to make the motion that we pass and allow the city to purchase 2 Super Duty crew trucks for the amount of $122,848.
Second.
Please second it. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Brown, do we have anybody from IT? My screen is out. Next up is item number 29. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I make the motion that we open the floor for discussion and possible action on item number 29, piggyback off of Cobb County. I'm sorry.
Been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. The floor is open, Mr. Brown.
Yes, Madam Mayor and council members, we are piggybacking off of Cobb County Sewer Root Control Contract. This allows us to provide maintenance of our sewer system. The number one issue with overflows is actually tree roots. Why we're piggybacking off of Cobb County is because they're the 3rd largest county in the state of Georgia, so they give us a better rate per linear foot. So I've treated streets in 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023. Per my work order system, we have streets in the city of East Point that have not been treated since 2002, 2009, and 2012. And so this would allow us to take care of those outdated areas. Duke Root Controls provides us with a 3-year contract guarantee before roots can intrude the sewer system and impede those sewer lines.
Councilmember Butler.
I'm done until the motion.
Councilmember Martin Rice.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the piggyback off of Cobb County FY24. The piggyback off of Cobb County FY24 sewer route control contract number CO 169 awarded to Duke's Root Control not to exceed $110,880.
Any discussion, Councilmember Cummings?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one question. So Dukes, will they actually go in and just treat all of the, you'll clean out all of the sewer lines, or is it just as needed, or how does that work?
So we select them. So I actually have all of the list of streets that we do. We target what I deem hotspot areas first. And from that list, we go on to, again, we select them. So again, I can provide you a list of that. Every time Dukes is treating the streets, we list the streets, and we also notify mayor and council first, and we put that on all social media outlets so our residents know what to look for. So they'll have a Duke Roots Control vehicle, they have proper signage, and also their attire. So we let you know in advance when they'll be in the city, because you may see someone popping manholes. We want them to know that they are contractors working on behalf of the city of East Point to improve our system.
Okay, one more question. So do any of those, when you make those decisions, do those streets, do those come from residents also just saying that?
It's a
we have those-
combination. So
Okay.
these are streets that we constantly have either overflows to,
Okay.
and when we go in there, it's usually tree roots. So again, we're a tree kind of heavy city. They do over time break our sewer lines, and they're the main cause for sewer issues and outages, yes.
Thank you. I yield, Madam Mayor.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Next up is item number 30. Their motion. Councilmember Cummings, my
Yes.
panel is working now. Go ahead.
Madam Mayor, motion to open discussion for, open the floor for discussion and possible action on FY25 annual supply of water treatment plant chemicals for drinking water compliance per ITB 2023-189, not to exceed $355,000.
Moved, is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. The floor is now open.
Yes, please, update.
Yes, so we treat our water system with 13 chemicals. This is just the ITB for the annual funding so that we can go ahead and continue with no stoppage when it comes to water treatment. So again, most of our contracts run from July 1 to June 30th. And so this is for us to proceed with our next shipment of water treatment chemicals for water distribution purposes.
Any questions? If not, is there a motion? Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Item number 31, their motion. Properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Brown?
Yes, Ms. Echeverria, please.
Madam Mayor and council members, as part of the city's Clean City Initiative, we have requested in our capital budget the purchase of 2 electric vehicles. This year, we have already, in addition to last year, hired a plant manager, a senior maintenance mechanic, and I'm in the process of hiring an assistant director in the next 2 weeks. These vehicles will offset to those vacant positions.
So when you say offset to the vacant positions, meaning
They need
the salary
vehicles.
savings so far?
No, we need vehicles for new positions. So they don't have vehicles. So this will be my
I
first.
mean, they will serve the position.
Correct. So
When
we
you
have.
said offset, I'm thinking like, so how we gonna do the
No,
cars?
not offset. I guess maybe that wasn't the proper term. I guess it would say that's the vehicles that they need to be driving. So currently, we don't have any vehicles in excess. So as we plan for new vacancies or filling them, we provide new vehicles. So I don't have any way for them to get around.
Member Butler,
Madam Mayor, I make the motion that we approve the request for 2 new EV trucks.
it's been moved and properly seconded that we approve item number 31. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Item number 32, is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I make the motion that we open the floor for discussion and possible action for the sanitation department driveway apron equipment parking.
Been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. The floor is open, Mr.
Ms. Echeverria, please.
Okay. We are utilizing an existing all-call services contract for AutoCo. On Bayard Street behind Fleet Services is where the Water and Sewer Department place all of their equipment and pipe, and so does the Power Department. We have damaged the apron in the driveway to Sanitation Department. This is for us to rehabilitate it without causing any additional problems with our sanitation trucks or to our heavy equipment vehicles.
Councilmember Cummings.
Madam Mayor, make a motion to approve for the sanitation department driveway apron and equipment parking, not to exceed the amount of $182,985.98.
Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Next up, item number 33. Motion to open the floor for discussion and possible action on Impact Fee Advisory Committee. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Brown?
Yes, Ms. Echeverria, take us away.
Okay, Madam Mayor and council members, per the last council meeting, we have already been in contact, me and the project manager, Alyssa Edmonds, with attending the Wednesday meeting with DDA. So we plan on doing the same presentation and explaining to see if they're interested in serving on that committee. What I will do is if we don't, I always have a plan B, is to go back to the consultants to see if we don't or we can't meet that 5-person committee board with the 50% meeting the criteria. So the goal is to attend the meeting to see if we have interest. I've been told there have been an issue with having a quorum. So we'll just address that on Wednesday to see what I can do and bring back to the council.
So then this should be on the what month are we in? September
September.
3rd, council agenda.
Okay.
Since it's on the agenda, can we just get a motion to place it on the September 3rd council agenda? There. No,
No, I
now
guess-
you
I
trying to
guess
move
Monday
that
is
money
Labor Day,
ahead.
right? So
We're in August. September 3rd, and I was about to, and I'm thinking like, no, September 3rd. Motion is to place on September 3rd. Second, is there a second? It's been moved and proper, it was already seconded. Any discussion?
Discussion.
Councilmember Mitchell?
Yeah, so, it's, oh, no. How did you come up with DDA? I know we had this discussion last meeting. It's my understanding that BIDA has people on their board that meets the requirement, and I'm not sure DDA is active right now. So how did we come to that?
At the last meeting, that's what I was instructed to do. We started off with BIDA, but then I think from talking about the types of requirements that the easiest thing was to go with the development authority because these are actually impact developmental fees. I think that's how we arrived at DDA.
Okay, so well, I know for pretty much a fact that BIDA has members that meet the requirements. I know DDA is not active, so I'm not sure how far that's going to go. So if that's something we can reconsider.
And again, you can, at the last meeting, you can opt to elect someone if you have someone in mind to participate in the meeting. But just know 50% of the board have to meet the developmental side so that
Right.
we have a good representation from the community as far
Right.
as producing impact fees.
So it's my understanding they do meet that qualification. So
Okay,
I think that might be a better route to go.
okay.
Thank you.
I'm not aware of the deactivation of the DDA, so, but we have time between now and September 3rd. Councilmember Butler?
No, I think the councilman, I was gonna ask, did we decide on DDA? But I guess we did. but we
That
can
was
have
the
that discussion
consensus
later.
during the discussion at the work session. And they were actually supposed to try to reach out to them this week. It sounds like they found out that they have a meeting on Wednesday, so they're just going to go
Yes.
to the meeting.
I will be in attendance this Wednesday.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. September 3rd work session, agenda. Next up, I think we may be done with water and sewer, moving to fleet services. Their motion.
Make the motion that we open the floor for a discussion and possible action on item number 34, the purchase of the F-150 Lightning EV truck.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. The floor is open for discussion. Mr. Brown.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Lindsay, if you can come up and just give us a brief overview of what this item is about, that'd be great.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We are trying to purchase an EV truck for the fleet to replace the last remaining older vehicle in our fleet, which is a 2007 F-150, and fleet decided to go with EV. I'm just trying to get a step in the right direction for the future for the city.
Any other? Councilmember Martin Rogers. No, motion to approve. So you gotta make it in the mic.
Motion to approve the purchase of F Ford 150 lighting EV truck for fleet services in the amount of $59,174 from Smyrna Ford under the Georgia State contract.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion?
Discussion.
Councilmember Cummings.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Do we have EV charging stations throughout the city? I know we have the two that are out in the parking lot here, so will we have?
Yeah, so this is part of my infrastructure and my capital for 25. I do have money set aside for the charging stations, not only for the vehicles that I'm buying, but for the ones that Ms. Echeverria is
That was my
purchasing
next
and the
question.
ones
Thank you.
for city manager's office.
That was a question. Thank you. I yield.
And we were a part of a regional grant application to get
Yes.
cars and or charging infrastructure, EV infrastructure. Did we ever get find out if we were awarded that grant?
I have not heard any information on the grant, but I do know that there was a block grant approval for whatever the city manager's office had. They had a grant that they had to spend money on, and that's how they were able to purchase their electric vehicle and the charging stations.
Yeah, I'm
But
definitely.
But the EPA grant, I have not heard any information on award of that yet.
I was trying to figure out that's the one we applied with, like Clayton and
Yes, ma'am.
Forest Park and other cities, like ARC convened a regional application.
That's
So
correct.
that may provide additional EV and charging infrastructure, but it's good to know that staff is already looking at that as well. And I think there was a previous discussion. Trying to see if I should wait this. It's not gonna come up again. About looking at having charging stations at our parks for the community. So this is more internal fleet maintenance infrastructure, but I know that came up in discussion previously. So, but thank you for moving in that direction.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Cummings, you had something else?
I think that was it. You asked a question about, I know we were talking about a grant for electric vehicles, and I was wondering if those were the two that, I always mess the name up, Miss Melissa. I don't even want to mess up her last name. I didn't know if those were the two those two vehicles that we approved, did they come from that grant? But you said we're still waiting to find out. If
No,
were-
we haven't.
Okay,
On the grant that the mayor is speaking of, we have not found out information if we've been awarded. And I believe in that grant, we are applying for like 8 or 10 vehicles, electric vehicles. So we have not found out if we've been awarded that grant yet.
okay. Thank you. I yield, Madam Mayor.
All right, all those in favor? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Next up, item 35 is a motion to open the floor. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Brown?
Yes, Madam Mayor, and members of the council. Item number 35, we'll have Mr. Brookins, our interim IT director, come up and walk us through the item.
Okay. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. So my request tonight is to migrate the city's on-premise BSNA software to their cloud-hosted version. It comes with a lot of benefits to the city. It will be hosted in Amazon's AWS GovCloud, so it is secure and meets the federal requirements that are always more stringent than anything that we can put out at the state level. It reduces the need for ongoing capital investments, so we're not looking at having to keep buying more servers and newer servers every 3 to 5 years. It is highly available, and so a couple weeks ago, there was an incident where there was a fire down the street and a power outage to City Hall. Everybody had to leave, but nobody could get to BSNA because power was down here as well, so it eliminates that single source of failure for the city. And it is one of the couple of the biggest things that it does that I worked with Ms. Smith and her team on earlier today was we determined that one of the biggest pain points that they have is people applying for permits, and they have to get an actual PIN code from somebody in the office. And so if they apply for a permit on the weekends, they have to wait until Monday to finish the process. This actually does away with that. And so it's an actual online all the way through to the first level of approval for the permitting, for any online permits. And probably the biggest thing that you guys don't see, but we see in the back end of IT is that every time we deal with Safe Built or any of the outside contractors that have to use BSNA, we have to actually create virtual PCs that also runs on internal city hardware for them to run on and give them access to the city's internal network to access it. This will eliminate that because it's no more software installed. They have an access code, they use their browser, and then it just works. So it's a much better setup for the city.
I don't see any lights on right now, but we've had a number of painful conversations about BSNA and challenges with systems and uploading information. And some departments it works well for them, others it doesn't. But what you just shared sounds like it troubleshoots a lot of the issues that have come up before.
Yes, ma'am.
Regarding BSNA, and hopefully streamlines the process and allows us to be able to have some efficiencies in departments and processes that aren't getting bogged down. Like you said, the requesting a code and then uploading, like the back and forth. If it's gonna help streamline that, that's great. How are they a sole source?
BSNA is the manufacturer or the developer of the software, and they don't deal with any third-party resellers. They sell direct to cities and
But I'm
counties.
saying, are there any other vendors that provide the same cloud service?
There's other vendors that will sell an ERP system, like Tyler or Enterprise Resource, so a finance, HR, that kind of system. But BSNA, whom the city currently uses, only sells BSNA. They're the only ones who can sell their product. And so that's why it's a sole source.
No, I get that. But when I think sole source, is like there's nobody else that provides this same type service.
No,
I mean,
ma'am.
this is a $335,000 contract.
That's correct.
So is there, not that it's BSNA, is there another vendor that provides the same cloud migration service?
So this is not just the migration. This is the actual hosting of and subscription for the software, for the BSNA software. So are there other cloud providers? Yes, there's Amazon, there's Microsoft, there's multiple ones, but this one is specifically BSNA's cloud-hosted subscription service that I'm requesting to move to. So nobody else can sell BSNA's software except BSNA, and this is all one package.
No, I get that, and that's one vendor that provides the service. I'm just trying to make sure we're good on contract and procurement for a $335,000 contract that we're saying is sole source. That's my question. And so maybe Mr. Brown, I don't know if contract and procurement can help with this. Attorney Cornwell, I'm not sure.
We can have Mr. Lawrence come up and explain it, if that's what you like. Mr. Lawrence, please, if you can.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. How are you all today? Madam Mayor, the way that Jason explained it is correct, but if you'd like to use it as a single source, we can use it as that as well. Since we're already with BSNA, in order for us to use this cloud that only BSNA provides, we can have it as a single source as well.
I'm just making sure we don't have contract and procurement issues on a $335,000 contract that we're saying sole source.
Oh, no,
So
ma'am.
a single source,
In this situation, because so if it was just a cloud version of it, we would just say single source. But as he said, since it's only their cloud and they're managing it and hosting it, then that becomes the sole source. But we can use it as single source or sole source.
I'm not the contract and procurement expert. I just know that if there are challenges, it comes back on the governing body. So you're explaining the difference between single source and sole source. And your recommendation, and I'm not sure, Attorney Cornwell, if this is something that Attorney Wiggins spoke with you about.
It is not.
Okay, so your recommendation is sole source?
My recommendation is sole source, correct.
Councilmember Con.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I understand what the mayor is saying. So BSNA, they do what they do. Is there anybody else out there that does what BSNA does as well?
Yes.
So what we're saying, let's just say it's A, B, and C. And they said that they can do the same thing that BSNA does for $300,000 as opposed to $335,000. I think, is that kind of what you, just to make sure that there's no conflict if someone comes back?
I'm trying not to get too caught up in the details. So
Right.
when I say that there's other people that can do it, there are other enterprise resource software developers out there, right?
But is your recommendation to go with BSNA because that is who we already have?
Because, yes, ma'am, because we already have them.
I'm tracking.
No, I'll stand down. Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the sole source contract for BSNA for the amount of $335,505.
There's a second. Been moved and properly seconded. Discussion, Councilman Martin Rogers.
Yes, and what I would like to know, are there any other possibilities or options out there for us? And have those been explored? Because this is $335,000. So I'd like to know if there are other options out there, Mr. City Manager, and have they been explored?
Yes, ma'am. This was this ERP or enterprise resource planning tool that we use. It's been around for a while, and the city at that time went through a competitive process. That's how BSNA came to the city, and the sole source that we're pursuing is an expansion of the existing technology. So, you know, if we were going to explore other ones, we'd go through a solicitation process to go through that process, but we're way down the road now with this particular program because we've been using it. And so we're asking to expand the cloud services on the existing system. So that's why it's a sole source. But when we started, before we started using this program, we did explore all of that. Now, obviously I was not here at the time, but I understand how we go about procuring these types of services.
Thank you.
I think I'm hearing correctly. So BNSA has this, what is it called?
ERP.
ERP.
Yes, ma'am.
And it only goes with what BNSA do.
Yes.
Anything outside of that, if you try to use something else, is not going to be compatible.
So these software packages are all encompassing, right? So they have HR,
But it's
finance.
tied to BNSA.
It's created by BSNA.
So then my question is, if you use anything other than what BNSA have, it's not going to be compatible to the system.
No, ma'am.
That is why they're going with BNSA. That's why it's a sole source justification, because you can only use BNA product with this system.
Yes.
So the government does it all the time. So that's the piece, because it's only compatible, it's their system, and you can only use their system with what the system is. Anything else is not going to work. And if you try anything else, then you're going to have more problems than what you want, because it's not going to be compatible.
That's it.
Mr. Brown? Light came on. How long is the BSNA contract? Not this, the one that's been approved, that we are sole sourcing off of.
The current contract is a year, it's an annual contract for the software. So every year we get renewals.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the cloud software. That was more from Mr. Lawrence about
The ERP
the
system.
BSNA contract that you are saying this is a sole source because we have that contract. How long is that
Oh,
contract?
the BSNA ERP system. Madam Mayor, off the top of my head, I don't have the information, but if you give me a second, I can get back with you.
Further discussion? All those in favor? All those in favor? That's only 3. All those opposed? Roll call.
Councilmember Shropshire. Councilmember Ziegler. Councilmember Cummings. Councilmember Mitchell. Councilmember Butler. Councilmember Martin Rogers. The motion passed.
Item number 36. Is there a motion to open the floor for discussion and possible action on financial advisor?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. The floor is open, Mr. Brown.
Yes, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Item number 36 is possible action on retaining the services of financial advisor to assist us with financing a number of city future projects. At a previous council meeting, we talked about City Hall Phase 2, which is the auditorium improvements, and the multi-generational center, recreation center over in Ward D. And so a number of discussions were held about, what do we do? Do we design the building? Do we do this? What is needed is for us to assemble a municipal bond team. So as we embark on building this state-of-the-art facility, that we ensure that we have the services of a financial advisor, a bond counsel, and a bond underwriter. And this item specifically seeks to retain the services of financial advisor. This went through a competitive process, and we're asking that Davenport and Company be selected to serve as our financial advisor. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So my question is, with these 3 items, which is the company that actually sells the bonds? That would be JP Morgan.
This will be JP Morgan. Yeah.
So before we had, I can't remember the name of the company that served as that would do our bond deals. Was it King? I can't remember the name.
Couldn't tell you.
Madam Mayor, do you recall who we had before? Right. But Kemp, right. Bill Kemp. So one of the things, and I think this is probably has to go towards JP Morgan. I would like to see us see if they can do a syndication. And what that means is, okay, thank you. Before, when we had Bill Kemp, they were willing to do a syndication so that they can get minority participation with them. And the way we did the solicitation would not allow for a company to do a syndication deal so that they can have minority participation with what they do. And so if we were able to ask if JP Morgan can do that, then that would be a great opportunity to allow minority participation with the majority company in the bonds process with the city of East Point. And with council's approval, I would like for us to explore those options. I'm not sure about the financial advisory part of that because I thought Kemp did all of that, and I'm not sure who was the attorney for that process too. And so I didn't know it was divided in that way.
And I'm not sure exactly what happened in the past. I just know that this is what we need to move forward with the projects that we've been discussing. And so we need the financial advisor. It is critical that we have someone that looks out for our best interest, that can assess the various funding sources that are needed, and just ensure that we are on track with managing the other members of the team, which is the bond counsel and the underwriter. And so.
And while we're having this discussion, and I'm going to go ask the mayor also, was Bill the institution that helped us to get our bond rating initially?
Bond rating.
Yes.
Nah, I
you
think
remember?
that was more finance. I can't remember who it was. I mean, they pretty much, I think, just use the rating that we have. I don't think they help us.
So the first organization would be the organization that helps us to get the rating?
The financial advisor would be the person, the entity that would help you get the rating.
Those are all my questions and concerns.
Yeah,
Thank
I can't remember which role Bill Kemp played. Is it Bill Kemp?
I think Camp was the financial advisor. I think. I've seen their name on documents at this city, so.
So I was looking at the agenda. I don't see any. How many proposals did we receive? It says RFP. I don't see any of the information or scoring sheet.
Mr. Lawrence, if you can come up and walk us through the number of proposals we got for the financial advisor. I think there were several.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I'm not sure why that information is not up there as well. Yeah, yeah, it was definitely on the work session. It was 2 proposals received.
Not on the work session agenda or this agenda.
Madam Mayor, the two companies were Davenport and Company and First Tryon Advisors. The scores were 82 and 75, respectively.
Oh, the RFQ, okay. The next one is the RFP. Madam City Clerk, was there a motion to approve, or do I need that? I can't remember.
No, not yet.
All right, any further action on this item? If there's no motion to approve it tonight, I guess it'll go to work session, but like, is there any further action on this item?
Yeah, I thought we went to work session.
I understand it's been the work session.
Madam Mayor,
Council has to make a decision as to whether or not they're gonna take action tonight or defer it till a time later. It could be work session, it could be the September 3rd meeting. I'm aware of the history of this item. Is there any further action tonight?
Madam Mayor, I do have another additional question, if it's okay. So one of the things you want to discuss in totality is how does this translate to the rec center? You want to talk about that too?
Yeah, I mean, if we need to have this municipal bond team assembled, which includes this item of the financial advisor. Without that, we're not able to have someone do an assessment of the various funding sources or put together the bond deals that are necessary, and even to, to help us understand our ability to pay back or receive or know exactly how much we need in order to actually do these projects. And so without a financial advisor or these other two entities, we're not going to be able to do any of this, not the auditorium improvements or rec center.
And if I can go down a rabbit hole a little bit, do you have a timetable of approval of the bond team? Actually, when can we break ground and possibly finish the rec center?
Well, the first thing is, I wouldn't know that until we actually got the capital needed to hire these folks. And then once we retain the service of a general contractor, an engineering firm, then we would know exactly what the estimated completion date would be. But right now this is square one, block one. We need to understand how much we need in funding to fund both of these projects.
One final question. If we approve this person and then we come back and approve the legal, what are the ramifications of us asking JP Morgan to help syndicate the selling of the bonds? And the reason why I say that is because the commission on those bonds, depending on a dollar amount, it's not a lot of money. But what it does is, for qualified vendors that partner with the majority firm, it helps them get that experience so that they could go out and bid on these projects too. How could we work that, and how would it work? Are we able to go back and say, hey, JP Morgan, we're willing to do this with you. We would like for you to consider syndication in the selling of the bonds?
I think obviously we can make a request and ask, and it'd be up to them if they would do it or not, but we could definitely ask.
So it sounds like there is some more concern or some more questions and that's fine. I would assume this goes to the whole team. What happens once we approve it tonight if that wasn't included in the solicitation? So this is a RFQ. So the first one is just qualifications. The next two are RFPs, which means they submitted proposals. And if we didn't request that information in the solicitation, one, everybody won't be able to be evaluated fairly because they were not aware that would be a part of it. and two, whoever they're recommending, if they are not willing to consider, there would be nothing that can be done after council has approved it. And so if those are things that we want them to explore and consider, I think with the request for qualification, they're just saying, are they qualified to do the job? I don't think your concern is with the financial advisor. I think it sounds like it's with the underwriter. And I don't know how bond counsel plays in it, but those two are solicitations that didn't just ask for qualifications, that asked them to submit a proposal. So is one of, I'm not sure, like, if now that the proposal is done and they are recommending somebody, I don't think you can go back and add something. I think you could probably do the whole solicitation over and include key provisions that we want considered. But once this is approved, if that's not already in there and they don't want to do it, but not only that, whether they want to do it or not, the people who submitted were not given the opportunity to be considered based on that criteria. And so the question I have, Councilmember Butler, are you, or to council, is there going to be action taken on 36? Or if there are the same concerns for 36, 37, and 38, those items could be moved to a future meeting so that if there are things that we want considered, you can't go back. It's easier to get things in up front. Once you get a contract with somebody, they don't have to agree to the additional things we might want them to consider. So that's the question. Council.
Madam Mayor, I think you raised some great points. I don't have an issue approving the vendor Davenport and Company as the financial advisor, and then in order to expedite the process, it would be nice to have a question with JP Morgan, but I understand what you're saying too, because the solicitation didn't allow that. And to be transparent, is the solicitation should have allowed that when we offered that RFP, and I think that's part of the reason why people weren't able to make those kind of joint ventures in order to apply for that position.
If there's no question on financial advisor, council want to make a motion on that, we can do that and then go through the other ones. Councilmember Ziegler?
Yes, thank you. So how much is this going to cost the city? Did I miss that?
For the financial advisor?
It's a request for qualification, so there was no price included. The city would actually set the price from there on. So we get whatever their cost is going to be for that. But to your point, Madam Mayor, since it's a request for qualification, there was no direct scope. There was a general scope. We're looking at the qualifications. So whatever you wanted to pretty much add to it, we could. If it was a request for proposal where we're asking for a direct scope, asking for the price on that scope, that's where we get that. But since it's a qualification, we can choose them. If they're able to do the excess work that you want to add to it, if not, we could choose the next company.
Yeah, they're talking about item number 38 is what he's talking
All right, right now we're on 36, and with a request for qualification, oftentimes you don't have to select one vendor. You can approve a list. And there's also, to Councilmember Ziegler's question, a range. So it's like up to an amount. So that, yeah, even though you use a service as needed, there's generally some parameters around what the budget is for the services. So I don't know if that was included in the solicitation for the RFQ, for the request for qualifications, because if not, what is the potential budget impact?
Come from the department. It would depend on which department is going to use them. Their budget, it would come from that particular department.
Councilmember Ziegler, you still in?
So I don't think the question is what department it comes from. I think the question is, do we have a range of how much it would be? Mm-hmm.
No, ma'am. We have, I don't know what the particular budget is for this. So whatever that budget is for what they're going to be being the financial advisor is, that would be that department giving that budget for that.
Okay. And interim city manager, do we know what that number
Yeah,
is?
no, let me just jump in there for a minute. So what the RFQ does, it allows for us to select the best qualified person. And then what will happen is they'll provide us with what their fee is. And their fee hasn't been presented to us yet, but it will be. It'll be presented to us they might say, well, we'll do a flat fee. They might say that we will charge so many basis points on the transaction. We might do whatever. And so we haven't gotten there yet. Our first goal is to get you to retain the services of the company, and then that fee will be provided to us, and then we accept it or not. That's how RFQs work.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
At the point of either a motion or getting more information, I think even with requests for qualifications, you generally have an idea of what people charge. Whether or not we're paying it, there's an idea of what they charge or a budget within it, but this is a blank, open. We'll see what they say after council approves them. Councilmember Shropshire, I think she might have something, Councilmember Buck.
Thank you. Here's my question. So, I think we probably should send it to work session because we do have more questions. And here's why. If they come back and their service is more than what we want to pay, then we're going to be putting it right back out there again, adding more stuff, asking more questions. So if we can take it to work session to get all of the questions answered and possibly have them here to see what do they offer, what would the cost look like. That way we won't have to repeat this again. And that would be for 36, 37, and 38.
And if that's the desire, that's fine. We just need to take them separately since they're separate items, but there sounds like there are more questions than answers right now on all three. Councilmember Martin Rogers.
Yes, for item number 36, it was a RFQ that went out, and how many people responded to it? Two people responded.
Correct.
So when normally you send something out like this, is it top heavy with people who respond, or just 2 to 3 people that may see it and want to respond?
Specialized requests as this, it's normally those who see it, they jump on it immediately. They may have a lot of vendors who would open it up and see, but they realize they're not able to do it. But for this being a request for qualification, all they're doing is turning in their qualifications. So those who wanted to be a part of it turned it in.
I'll use the recent request for qualification as an example. The one that we just approved on the agenda for the senior services. Remember, it was a request for qualifications. We approved 2 vendors up to $350,000. So there is a number.
Yeah, so that number, Madam Mayor, comes from the department. So for instance, that case, that was a grant. So they have an amount that they can't go
No,
past.
that wasn't a grant.
I'm sorry.
That was ARPA funds.
ARPA funds, I apologize.
Yeah.
But in this case, whatever department, this is from the city manager's department, whatever that particular funding is, for the actual request for qualifications, we don't ask for a price. It's the department that sets the actual not to exceed amount.
Correct. And when that came before council to vote, we approved the vendors and not to exceed an amount. There was a dollar value assigned to it, regardless of what their rates are. You talked about going back, getting rate sheets from them at the same time so you can make those decisions. I get that. There's generally one or the other.
Correct.
You either know what their range is, whether or not we'll accept it or not, or there is an allocated budget amount for the RFQ services so that council knows the financial commitment that it is making up front, like up to a certain amount. We don't
Correct.
have either on this one. So, is Councilman Martin, right?
All right, so if we table item number 36, or we moved item number 36 to a work session, how does that impact number 37 and 38? Or are 36 and 38 more cohesive?
So they're all
And
three a part
37?
of assembling of bond financing team, but they're all separate action items because they're separate services that are being procured or solicited. Correct, because that's a request for a proposal, so they had to do pricing. The last one is a request for proposal and is not to exceed 0.25% of par amount of the bond. And so there are dollar amounts associated to that, but not this one. It sounds like these items still need to be flushed out. So is there a motion? We need to take them one at a time. Is there a motion to move item 36 to the September 9th work session? Or is there any other trying to make these motions, but there's nothing on the floor and we are saying different things, but they're amounting to the same thing.
I think that we should take item number 36 back to a work session until we have that not to exceed amount just placed on there.
No, I was gonna make a motion.
What'd you say, Councilmember Shropshire?
Councilman Mark Rogers, do you have anything else? Councilmember Ziegler.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to move item number 36 to the September 9th work session.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. 1, 2, 3, 4. We still got 5. You got the record. I just called a vote. Councilmember Cummings stepped out, but we still have 5. Item number 37. There any motion on this item?
Yes.
Martin Rogers.
So we have this amount here. Is everyone comfortable with it not exceeding this amount? Because it is.
So you got to open the floor either
Okay,
for
I'd like to open
discussion
the
or
floor.
possible
I'd like
action.
to open the floor for possible discussion and action on item number 37.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. The floor is open for discussion. Councilman Martin Rogers.
I don't have any discussion. I would like to support this item because it does have the not to exceed amount on here. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the bond counsel with the selected vendor Holland and Knight LLP from RFP number 2024-1867, not to exceed $75,000.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Next item is 38.
Madam Mayor, I make the motion that we move item number 38 to work session.
September 9th work session.
Yes.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion?
Discussion.
Councilmember Butler.
Can we, well, no, never mind, no discussion. Yeah. I'm sorry?
I think I know what you're about to ask, but the issue that you're trying to address, they're gonna have to make some decisions about
They are,
whether or not this moves forward or we reopen the solicitation to address that concern.
yeah, can we give them the authority to address that concern with JP Morgan?
So I think what they would need is the consensus from council as to whether or not Mr. Lawrence, the syndication opportunity or possibility that Councilmember Butler mentioned was not a part of the original solicitation, right? So
But it wasn't, so, no, it was not stated as a scope in there, but we're not opposed to it. So they were done it. It wouldn't have been like, you can't do it. We don't have any ordinance that said they couldn't do that.
we don't have the ordinance to say that we can't do it, but it sounds like there's a desire to require it. And so having an option is if they do it, they do it. If they don't, we can't require them to. And including it, and now I think we defer to the city attorney and staff to think through that by the time we get to the work session about what needs to be done.
Cool with that.
Mr. Brown?
No, I got it loud and clear, Mayor.
So I saw, when I see your name,
No,
that's
no,
what. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Next up is item number 39. Contracts and procurement. Is there a motion on 39?
Madam Mayor, I make the motion that we approve the procurement of two electric vehicle charging stations in the amount of $23,640.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Mayor, I think I need to make an adjustment to that though, because I did not include the Blazer EV.
It's for the agenda item.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Madam City Attorney. Councilmember Butler read part of the motion. I meant the agenda, part of the request for the two electric vehicles. Councilman Butler, go ahead and make one for one vehicle.
Yeah, I was gonna ask him to read back just to see if he said two electric vehicles, they were good, but if he only read.
Well, no, because there's also one
And this.
20 Chevrolet Blazer. Go ahead and make it for the second part.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the purchase of one 2024 Chevy Blazer EV from Hardy Chevrolet in the amount of $51,845.
So moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? I think with this approval, this is about 9 EVs approved tonight
I think so.
with some. Well, no, there were 4 previous, and then this one has 3, so that's 7. I was presumptuous, but more than 5, which is, I'm just making a commentary. There was 2 for you, 2 for Miss Echevarria.
And now this is 3.
More than 5. We're moving in the right direction. That's all I'm trying to suggest. Yeah, I'm getting my math off and everybody confused. It's fine. Any further discussion, Councilmember Butler?
I think I'd make the motion.
Yeah, you made the motion, but you're like
No, I'm
that
out.
discussion. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Number 40.
Yes, Madam Mayor. I'd like to make the motion to open the floor for possible action and discussion on departmental vacancies. However, thank you.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Second. Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in
Yes.
favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Martin Rogers.
Thank you. There has been just information floating out there about a lot of vacancies in the city of East Point. So one thing that I requested from our city manager was the number of vacancies, how long those vacancies have been, I guess, in process, and what we were going to do about the vacancies, but I still haven't I haven't received the information. So I want to put this item back on the work session in hopes of receiving the accurate information so that I can properly discuss this, because the rumor mill is circulating, but it's just most important to have accurate information.
I think we need the department the number of vacancies per department, that was provided. But what we don't know is the positions that represent those vacancies per department, the titles of those positions, and the number of vacant positions by title, and how long those positions have been vacant. And what is the plan per department regarding addressing those vacancies? What actions have been taken, all of them, whether they have moved forward or not, and what actions will be taken. I was also going to put on the agenda prior to this, Councilmember Martin putting this on, is an update on planning and zoning staffing. There are a lot of critical key projects happening. We've had several presentations from planning and zoning about department staffing needs, and that those positions should be filled by now. We can't keep talking about them, and we've allocated funding for them. My question is, so Councilmember Martin mentioned what she's looking for at the work session. I'm looking for number of vacancies by department, the positions that those vacancies represent, how many vacancies per position, how long the positions have been vacant, and what efforts have been taken, are being taken. What is the plan to fill these? Because from from department head position, so the conversation started with department heads. It was out there. We have a lot of vacancies in our department head positions. Well, it's not a lot of vacancies in department head positions. Then we have about 14 departments, and there may be, now we have finance, IT, there's an interim, communications, there's an interim. And I think the other departments, of course, we still have a vacancy. Oh, contract. Yeah, thanks for opening the door. Hello. Contracts and procurement is an interim. And of course, our key city manager position is vacant. So out of 14 positions, that's 5. Some of those positions are key for new city managers to be able to hire and bring people in to be a part of their team. That's morphed into, there's hundreds of positions that are available in the city. Sometimes vacancies are for a reason. And so that's why it's important to have that information so that we can ensure that all of the factual information is being communicated with the public. So Councilmember Martin Rogers, since this was on the agenda, you need to make a motion. It would be best to make a motion to place it on the work session, just so we can move it. No, you said that's what you wanted to do, but you didn't make a
Yeah,
motion.
I'd like to make a motion to put this item on the work session agenda for September.
So moved. Is there a second? Any discussion? Mr. Brown, is staff clear as to what information we're looking for?
I understand it.
Okay. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Next up is, comments from council. Councilmember Shropshire.
Thank you. On yesterday, I was here when the powwow was going on. And I saw some things that shouldn't have happened. And I want to know if we can share a screen so I can show y'all what I saw. Okay. So unfortunately, the photo is not redacted. But what happened is, Mr. Brown, is I didn't know the city had a pool. I saw kids in the fountain. Playing like it was a swimming pool. That's unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. And I can ask each and every person up here, when you were a kid and you went in the swimming pool, what did you do? Urinate in the water. First of all, is that water recycled? Secondly, that fountain has lights at the bottom that light up that fountain. So if those kids would have broke it, fell, bump their head, drown, the city would have been held liable. If those kids get sick from E. coli, whatever bacteria, the city is held liable. So to allow, and I'm going to send the picture to all of y'all. And then when I rode in the back, guess what was on? The splash pad. So if they wanted to cool off, they could have went back here and got in the splash pad. But no, they were allowed to get in the fountain and use it as a swimming pool. That's unsafe. That puts the city in a liability. And it's no accountability for who allowed them to get in the fountain. I'm going to take it a step further. You have homeless people that possibly use that fountain. You have exposed, those kids could have been exposed to God knows whatever. That's totally unacceptable for that to even be allowed to happen. There should be some accountability. There should be, something needs to happen. Not only that, now we need to put up a sign that clearly says you cannot utilize this fountain for drinking, for swimming, for utilizing it to use the bathroom or nothing else. That is safe, nasty, and unhealthy. And I was just floored. I left because I was floored. I brought it up. I left. And it was at the powwow event. I said something about it, but it was just, so yeah, I took a picture. Sure did. Took a picture of the kids in the pool and the splash pad. Unfortunately, we can't show it because they're kids. You can't show kids. But just the thought that nobody said nothing about that and thought that it was okay. That's not okay. That's not okay. So, I mean, I want to know how it's going to be addressed. You know, that was the powwow. That's our art director, person, that was their event. They thought it was okay. So tell me how it's going to be addressed. Here's the other piece. The water is treated for bacteria. So they're putting chemicals in that water to treat mosquitoes, mold, mildew. You got kids in a fountain that's being treated for mold, mildew, and mosquitoes, and urine.
Any other comments from council? I don't see any other lights on, but I
wanna hear
echo
what
the
Mr.
I
Brown
echo
had to
the
say.
sentiments of very serious concerns for liability and exposure to the city, but also safety. And it's very concerning that there were staff at the event that allowed. I mean, I saw the picture. It looked like they were real comfortable in the water, and it looked like they had just gotten in the water. They were wading in the water. They were playing in the water. There were probably at least 6 or more kids. We've been in this building since I think 2019. So that's about 5 years, and it has never been utilized for swimming purposes or water purposes or for people to get in it. That pool is not, that fountain, I'm talking a pool, that fountain is not designed for humans to be in it. And the fact that they were allowed to be in it, to play in it, to remain in it is extremely concerning from a safety reason. Like, the water is excessively shallow. What if they were jumping in and they're playing around and hurt themselves? Like, it's just so many things that could have potentially happened, and thank God it didn't. But like, how is that okay? It is never been used for that. How did we decide yesterday that we were gonna let it be used as a little mini pool on city property at a city event? So I too share those concerns. I don't see anybody else's light on. I want to thank everyone who showed up tonight. I want to remind everyone about the photo voice activity that will start next Tuesday at the Arts Exchange, connected with the Advancing Health Equity and East Point Initiative, as well as goes from the 27th, I think, through the 30th. And then Saturday, the 24th, this Saturday, the third annual Advancing Health Equity Summit here at City Hall, through our partnership with Morehouse School of Medicine. Encourage everyone to come out and participate and learn more about health equity, but also screening, health resources, and all the information that'll be provided this weekend. And Mr. Hales, they were communicating with Ms. Green from Cadre about participation. And so I'm not sure if you received that information, but I'll let you know that there is some level of participation, but they have been communicating with her this week, but I'll let you know. Councilman Rogers.
Yes, Mr. Brown, you heard the concerns that were addressed. Are you going to provide something to us in writing or provide something in staff? Do you have a comment? Provide something to staff. Do you have a comment on the?
I do have a comment.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. What I will do is take everything I've just heard. I'm going to investigate it, and then I'm going to take appropriate action. Okay?
I'll send you the picture.
Do we have any executive session items this evening from legal?
We do. I have 5 legal, 2 personnel, and 1 real estate.
Oh my goodness, you busy tonight.
Madam Mayor?
How many? Real estate? 5 legal, 2 personnel, 1 real estate. Mr. Brown? So that's
2
3 personnel. Council?
1 real estate.
Anybody else have any? So, make sure I look at my notes. You get a motion to recess into executive session for 5 legal, 2 real estate. Did you say 1 for you?
3 personnel.
And you got 1. 2 real estate and 3 personnel.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Sharpshaw.
No, I'm
5
trying to think of what we're gonna do. We're gonna recess
to
into executive session for 5 legal, 3 personnel, and 2 real estate.
So moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We're in recess. Can we get a motion to
Motion to reconvene?
It's been moved and properly seconded in discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. In the matter of Davis versus City of East Point, need a motion to proceed as discussed in executive
moved.
session. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. In the matter of Jacqueline Strong versus City of East Point, motion to proceed as discussed in executive
So
session.
moved.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. A motion to approve executive session meeting minutes.
Motion to approve executive session meeting minutes?
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those
Aye.
in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Good night, East Pointers.